Hi you guys, it's Tina from All Things Pretty. I just kind of wanted to make a small video just to get in touch with you guys because it's been a couple of days and I haven't filmed. So I just kind of wanted the subject I wanted kind of to talk about today was friendships and childhood memories and just how we grow up. And I guess the reason why I wanted to talk to about that was because I recently talked to one of my childhood friends over the phone last night, and it was actually a really good conversation, and I really enjoyed talking to her. We talked for quite some time, 9 hours actually, and I didn't go to bed until like 6 in the morning. I didn't even go to bed at 6 in the morning. I actually just kind of laid there just replaying everything in my head that we had discussed and about our childhood and all the fun memories we had, and it kind of just took me back to memory lane, and it was a good feeling. It really made me think, how grateful I am to have her as a friend. A little background about my friend. So we've been best friends for a really long time. I actually met her when I was like 9, probably around 9 or 8, around that time. The funny thing is we actually lived in the same neighborhood and we didn't even know it for the longest time, to be honest. I saw her like in the playground once in a while, or she would see me, and it was always someone that I wanted to talk to. I kind of felt like an instant connection with her, but I was kind of shy when I was little, so I kind of never really pushed myself to go talk to people. It was normally, someone would come and talk to me, and then that's how I became friends with someone or how I knew somebody. But she's actually a pretty funny person. She has like this quirky sense of humor and like this wittiness to her that's always like drawn me to her, and her imagination's like wild. Like she's more of a like free soul kind of person, and I think that's what drew me to her, because we always had both had that quirky sense of humor or inside jokes or these weird jokes we would make up or come up with, our imaginations. So a little bit about our background. I actually met her where I was living at the time, the neighborhood that we both grew up in, and to be honest, it was actually a pretty funny way how we met, or we became friends. So I am a big fan of riding bikes when I was little, and I was always on my bike from the moment the sun came up till the sun went down, and till the streetlights came on, pretty much, or I heard my mom call my name. But even then, I don't think I even, I still ride my bike for a little longer, but that's how we met. I was riding my bike, and I saw this tall girl, and I was kind of flabbergasted, like a little confused why she had training wheels. I mean, we're 8 or 9 years old, so I was like a little confused, so I thought it was a little weird. But I remember thinking to myself, like from the distance, like, hey, isn't that the girl from the school, from the playground, like I've always wanted to talk to, but I never was brave enough to go talk to her. So anyways, long story short, so I'm riding my bike up to her, and the closer I get, I notice these training wheels. I'm like, something wrong with her? Like, I thought like she had problems, not to sound mean, but as a kid, our innocence, we don't think, we're just like, that's a little unusual, why does she have training wheels? So I ride my bike up to her, and I see her, and she stops in her tracks. I'm like, okay. So I'm riding past her, and she just, it's like, hi, my name is, and I'm not gonna say her name online, but do you want to be my friend? And it was just an instant connection. I always felt like we were meant to cross those paths for a reason, and we just grew this really strong bond throughout that year. I think it was the summer that we actually started hanging out with each other. But with that being said, like a lot of this video, I wanted to talk about like childhood friends and things that we go through, and how we grow up with this, I guess, sense and what we think we know about somebody just because we grew up with them or what we know of them. And I think, I mean, we've always been honest with each other. We always, you know, little bits and pieces to the puzzle about each other, about our home lives. And to be honest, like, I felt like she was like my lifeline growing up, because at that time in my childhood, I was going through a lot of stuff and having a hard time coping with a lot of things because of my childhood. And I think she brought a lot of good in my life when a lot of bad things was going on at the time. And, you know, I think everybody goes through a rough time in their childhood. And I had a really hard childhood. And to me, she was like my lifeline, like something I needed to pull close to me. And I'm like internally thankful for that. Like, you don't even know, like, she was like my escape, you know, when growing up and spending hours together and not having to think about what was going on at home or my home life per se. And to me, that was really like, you know, that's what really anchored me to her. And, you know, I think we both went through a lot of things in our childhood, and it was our way of coping with one another by learning as we grew up, you know, and a lot of things we related to with one another. And to be honest, like, I think we were each other's escape at the time. So we used to like come up with some crazy like shenanigans when we were growing up, and a lot of things we could have gotten in trouble for and could have been really dangerous. But nothing like that serious. We were only 9 years old, but it really takes you back to, you know, that's what I love about memories, you know. You could always like rewind them and just kind of just live in that moment. And to me, moments are really important because I know life isn't granted to us, you know. Anything could change like in a split second, and it's very rare when you find someone that could relate to you on that level. And I think we both just had like this kind of soul connection with one another. Like, we kind of just clung on to each other because it was something that we both needed at the time. Like I said before, I don't think it's pure coincidence when we run into the people that we do in our lives. It's kind of like a chain, like the people are the links. And whether we learn from whatever tribulations we go through, or anything that happens in our childhood or growing up as an adult, it all has a purpose. Everything has a purpose, you know. And I feel like those links are very important growing up, when we grow up as the individuals that we become, because it might sound cheesy, but I'm a strong believer in faith and God, and I have my reasons behind that because, you know, like I said, life's very fragile and it could be taken from you very quickly, and things could change. And it not only changes your life, but it could change the people around you. And I think that's really important, that people shouldn't take people for granted, even if, you know, you might not get along with somebody or you might have a falling out with somebody. But I think the important thing is to remember is the good. And, you know, sometimes people we grow up with, we might become friends with other people, and a bond might not be so, I guess, strong or whatever. Or when you have a falling out with somebody, you don't talk to them in a while. It all comes to the same path, you know. Like I said, life is really fragile, and I think I learned that really young in my childhood, and I had to kind of learn how to grow up really quick. And a lot of that I used while growing up, because I had to learn a lot of things really quick, and my childhood wasn't the best. And I knew a lot of things probably a lot of kids didn't know around my age. And I think when we go through those things, I think it's God's way of, you know, God can't be here in person all the time. I'm sure there's angels, you know, that God sends to us or whatever, that we cross paths to get us through things. And like I said, you don't have to believe that, just my own beliefs. Only because, well, I went through a lot of things in my childhood, and I know God exists for a reason, you know. And I think that we often think, you know, when we go through these things in our childhood, we think that all there is bad, and sometimes the bad overweighs the good. And when we cross paths with these people, it makes us grow into these people that not only that we're stronger and wiser, but we have empathy for people. And empathy is very rare to have, you know. And I'm not saying, some people will say empathy gets you in trouble because you care too much about people and people end up screwing you over. I don't believe that, because being a good person never screws anybody over. You know, God actually takes care of, he'll take care of that. You know, that's not your job to do. It's not your job to judge people. It's your job to understand and help people grow, you know. And I think when we go through these lessons in our life, it's like we're kind of like God's angels, because we've already went through it and we don't want to see somebody else go through it. Or sometimes your way of thinking could change anything, like the way someone was thinking that day, or you could even save someone's life. You know, maybe somebody, you know, needed a hug that day, and they, sorry, I was getting a phone call. They needed a hug that day, and by you hugging them, just change their whole perspective on life, you know. And that's something internal. Like, you should be happy that, don't feel bad that you're a soft person sometimes. Don't feel bad that, you know, all you do is give, 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 give. You know, God creates these things in our lives for a reason, for we could go through them and help other people. And I felt like my friend that I grew up with, you know, there's a lot of things she didn't know I had personal problems at home. All we knew was, you know, we were in that moment. You know, we were in our imaginary world where nothing could go wrong, and it was just fun, you know. We escaped for a while and built a whole bunch of memories together, and it just makes you see, you know, when you are friends with these people for such a long time, which is a rarity. You know, not a lot of people can say they still talk to their childhood friend, and I'm actually really blessed that I still talk to her. And, you know, throughout the years that we have been friends, you know, I know she's gone through a lot of stuff, and I've gone through a lot of stuff, and we kind of just talked it through. And, you know, we've both lost people while growing up, and old friends and colleagues, and it's kind of sad sometimes. You know, I do this often. I actually probably every day, to be honest, because I know how life is so, you know, could be gone. You know, you should really not take people for granted. And, you know, sometimes people feel like you're taking them for granted, really, when you're taking a step back, giving them their space, and hoping that they'll come to you. And sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes you have to go to them, but our pride kind of like gets in the way of that. And I've even been the person to say I've done that, you know, not to be like mean or anything other less than anything like that, but sometimes I give people their space, and before I know it, you know, it's been a year, it's been 2 years, it's 3 years, and then we have this moment, like one day driving down the street, or a song that we hear on the radio, or something that we saw that reminds me of them, and I I feel like I need to talk to them, but my inner part, you know, my ego sometimes like, oh, no, they need to talk to me. But, you know, I think with time, with people that grow up together and sometimes build this animosity for each other for whatever happened or whatever fight, a childhood friend you might have gotten in a fight with, or a family member that you may have, you know, had a disagreement with, and you guys pull and go different separate ways, that I think it's important that we fix those bonds. And, you know, I've always been the person to, I guess, there was a childhood friend that I had that I also grew up with, and we ended up having, you know, split up, went different directions, because she had felt that, you know, I grew up, and as we all do, but I had, you know, really grew up. I like got married, had a child, my lifestyle wasn't the same, and where she was single and kind of just was able just to do whatever, and I really didn't have that kind of time anymore. You know, I had a child I had to take care of, and my life was really busy, full-time job, and I guess she kind of got resentful that things weren't the same anymore. And, you know, I really felt bad for a lot of years of that. Like, we kind of grew apart because, again, like, my other childhood friend, we were friends since we were 9, we're still friends, and my friend prior to that, we were friends for even longer. Like, we even went to Catholic school together, and to me that really hurt. You know, it was like, you grow up knowing this person, and it's like, to me it felt like something was being taken from me, and I took it really personal that she was just being completely like, not understanding. You know, things change, and I know she did struggle a lot with change, and maybe I should have handled the situation better. But anyways, me and her had fallen out, and then we ended up becoming friends later on in life. But my point of that story is, you know, even if someone sometimes pulls away from you, or you pull away from them, it's probably always best to, you know, even if it's not your fault or their fault or whoever's fault, it's probably best to always just clear your conscience and say you're sorry, or take fault for whatever happened, because you never know what could happen, you know. And I've had some childhood friends that had passed away, or people I've known, and, you know, it makes you really wish that you would have said, you know, something. You would have just picked up the phone and, you know, had a small conversation just to relieve that kind of energy. And, you know, I did talk to that old friend, and, you know, we worked it out, and then, you know, later on we did have another falling out, and since then I haven't talked to her. But I do have a lot of good memories with her also, you know. But sometimes, even though we grow up with some people, we have to let go, because not only, some people can be more toxic to us than more benefiting us, you know. And friendship's about growing with one another. And I think with my other friend that I grew up with when I was 9, you know, we've always benefited each other. I don't even think we have ever said anything bad to each other, like, not like that I recall. Like, we've always just went along with things, you know. And I think that's important, you know. And as we grow up, we take these things that we build with our friends or with people, and we carry it with us in our life to build whatever or learn whatever we need to learn. Because like I said in my videos before, like, everything's just temporary here, you know. You can make all the money in the world. You could be a millionaire, buy anything you want, eat whatever you want, you know, but is that really gonna make you happy? you know? And to me, friendship's really important to me, and building those bonds with people. And sometimes we have those falling outs with people, and man, that hurts. I admit it does hurt. And I guess having this talk with my friend last night, like, made me see, like, gosh, look how fast life can go, you know, in just this blink of an eye, you know. And I wish sometimes, like, I could just go back, not to change anything or anything, but I'm a happy person now, but, like, nothing adds up to, like, your childhood, like, your pure innocence and everything that you learn in that time, you know. And it was really nice to talk to her and just recap on everything, all our goofy quirkiness and all those memories. Like, I really hold them really dear to heart because, you know, that's something I know it's going to always be with me, you know. I'm not going to forget it. And it's more of a feeling, and not, it's like this, it's like, you know, when you think of these memories, like, it really makes you, like, play back, like, what was I thinking, or why did I do that when I was a kid, or why did I think that was unfashioned, or whatever. And man, we've had some adventures. We used to do the silliest things. We used to paint rocks and sell them. And I remember this guy had pulled up and he wanted to buy, if you think about it, back then we could have got kidnapped. This guy pulls up and wants to buy rocks from us and wants to know what kind of rocks we're selling. Us kids, we don't know any better. And we're like, oh, they're colorful rocks. We painted them. Well, he buys one for $0.25. But anyways, you know how easy it was for us just to get kidnapped on the corner, you know? And it's just, you know, our imaginations and our, you know, even though we had insecurities, it was just, we just kind of just forgot about everything in that time, you know. Nothing mattered but this moment of, you know, enjoying ourselves for the summer, or eating a popsicle on a porch, or piece of pizza, or playing with Beanie Babies. Or I was not really much of a Barbie person, but I was kind of like a tomboy growing up. But I really knew how to build a mean fort. I had a really good, I guess, knack for building things when I was younger. So that was really fun. We used to, in her backyard, we used to build this fort, and behind her house was this, like, I guess where people used to throw old wood or whatever, weird things anyways. And we used to take things from there and, like, build our forts, and in our minds we thought this was going to be, like, you know, a mansion, you know, in our minds that's what we thought, you know, at the time. And I guess with me saying this, I just, now that we're older and everybody has children of their own, I just want people to realize, you know, these times are important for children, and it's very, I guess, so much, how can I say, it's important for us to accept our children the way they are and kind of get them a little freedom. And I know, like, I struggle with that with my own children, like, because I know how I was when I was a kid, and nothing gets past me. I know when something's up, but that's what makes us grow. That's what makes us build memories and, you know, leads us up to, like, 7 a.m. phone calls with our old-time friends 20 years later. You know, don't be afraid to let your kids grow up, and don't be afraid to let them experience things, because this is our stepping stones for them to grow and build bonds with people. And sometimes heartache will be part of that, and sometimes we go through tragedy, and it's important for us to understand it's all part of the process. And, you know, you always have to tread through the waters, even when things get rough, and even if the clouds get cloudy, you know, sometimes you have to be each other's sunshine and help get through it. Well, I think that's about it, you guys. I've been filming for a little while now, and I don't think you guys are gonna watch this whole video. I could probably talk forever, but I'm not gonna make you like watch a 2-hour video. All right, you guys, well, don't forget to click share, and I actually have a YouTube channel now, so I only have the 2 videos on there. I'm still working on getting more videos, but sometimes time could be hard. I do have a family life, and I have to focus on that sometimes too, so I hope you guys understand. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel, All Things Pretty, and I hope you guys have a great day. All right, bye. God bless.